If we meditate like a scientist who spends the whole time asking questions, then we may not make very much progress in our meditation at all.
The action of bowing in respect to the Lord Buddha is very special, reverential, and beautiful.
The teaching that says man should lean only on himself is quite correct.
Today, I'm taking you further inside to find the spirit of peace in the land of Lord Buddha.
Sawadika, I am Sunanporn Rotjan, and I would like to welcome you to the third edition of Meditation for All. This video presentation focuses on promoting an understanding of life and helps develop basic meditation practice to deal with unpleasant life situations. All of us experience some difficulties, problems, and obstacles in life. We were born and will die. If we live long enough, from time to time, we'll get sick. Our bodies will get old and normally weak and feeble. Often we're separated from what we like, and often we have to be with what we don't like. They are frequently unpleasant and difficult to deal with. Yet, about 2,600 years ago, the Lord Buddha was able to free himself from the sufferings through the middle way meditation. And it is fortunate that his teachings still remain for our liberation. If you participated in the program last time, we've learned from Venerable Nicholas Thanisaro how meditation can help beat insomnia, depression, and even mental exhaustion. He also explained why the further away from the body the mind is, the more suffering one experiences. This week, the Venerable will introduce 2 positive attitudes that can help us meditate. This week, the Venerable will introduce 2 positive attitudes that can help us meditate well. He will also talk about how to train your mind so that it stays out of the negative terrain. Let's hear more from him.
Welcome back to our session on meditation for beginners. Last week, we have already looked at how meditation works and how it brings many important benefits to us, including relief from stress, depression and insomnia, and can even help us to improve on the good character qualities which we already have. This week, we're going to be looking at some of the special approaches which we need to have to study meditation, and how we can cultivate these so that we can make the maximum progress in our meditation. Some people wonder whether meditation can be considered a science or not, because it's clear that both meditation and science are ways of finding new knowledge and to get rid of our ignorance. Science uses empirical experiments, which means that it doesn't matter who does the experiment, the results will always be the same, and the results will verify facts about the natural world, mostly about the outside world. Although meditation was a much earlier tradition than science, it arrived in the Western world about 500 years after science. Thus, sometimes meditation is not so well known as science, as a way to find out about the world. In fact, meditation is a way to find out about the world too. But it tends to be a way of finding out about the nature inside us. It's not a way of getting knowledge, which we can delegate to anyone else in the world. Thus, if we want to find out about ourselves, we have to do meditation for ourselves. Thus, meditation is not empirical, it's subjective. But in our context, that doesn't mean it's unreliable. We can be scientific with our meditation by observing changes in our meditation carefully. But if we meditate like a scientist who spends the whole time asking questions, then we may not make very much progress in our meditation at all. A better attitude to meditation is to think of ourselves like a newborn child who is so innocent that they have no questions in their mind at all. We have to accept our own ignorance about the world. Only in this way can we start to find out new truths about ourselves which we never knew before. And yet, if anyone asked you to prove it, you could not do so. But it doesn't alter the fact that what you learn about your meditation can actually help you or be of great use to you. Thus, I warn you in advance that many of the things which I'm going to talk about on this mini-series I cannot prove to you scientifically. However, it doesn't mean that these things are not of benefit to you. All I can do is describe the general trends of what a large number of meditators have verified independently. The subjective nature of meditation also helps us to explain why we have to have a special attitude when we're learning about meditation, which might not be necessary if you're learning about academic subjects like geography, say, or politics. If we're talking about meditation, we have to be active in two ways, which are letting go of old misunderstandings or negative attitudes which we may have had in the past. Also, we need to open up more to positive attitudes which may be new to us. These are things which are not necessary for academic study, but they're necessary when we come to meditation. The subjective nature of meditation also helps us to explain why we have to have a special attitude to meditation which may not be necessary if we're studying academic subjects like geography or politics, for example. When we're talking about meditation, we need to have two very special attitudes when we are learning. The first thing is that we have to be willing to let go of old, possibly negative attitudes which we may have had before. At the same time, we also need to be ready and willing to open up to new positive attitudes which we're learning as we meditate. We need to be active in the search for beneficial things which we are learning from our meditation, whether it be about the person teaching it, the knowledge itself, and even the good aspects of ourselves as a meditation student. This is what we mean by respect from the point of view of the meditation student. We have to look for good points in everything new we learn about. In fact, even intuitively speaking, you may have had an experience of such attitudes before and the effects they have on your learning. If you think back to the time when you were still at school and think of the subject which you studied the best, you probably also find that the person teaching it was also your favorite teacher. This is no coincidence, but it could be accounted for by the fact that when we feel more positive about the person we're learning from, we can learn more knowledge from them. And the same thing goes for meditation. Thus, we were trying to use what we call respect when we are learning about the subject in hand, so that we can be more familiar with meditation as we learn more and more. If you want to look at the real roots of respect, then we find that even as a word, it tells us about this deeper meaning. The word respect can be broken down into two pieces, re and respect. Re means to do something again. Spect means to look at something. So what exactly are we looking for when we are looking at something again? Well, from the point of view of our meditation, what we're looking for is the positive aspects in everything new that we're learning about, whether it be the teaching, the teacher, or ourselves as a meditation student. So much for opening up to new positive attitudes which we need for our meditation. But we also need to let go of some of the possibly negative attitudes which we had in the past. And in this connection, I'd like to tell you a funny story about an old Chinese woman who had some very negative attitudes. This old Chinese woman had two sons. The first son was the owner of a sunglasses factory. The second son was the owner of an umbrella factory. Normally, such a woman should be very proud of her sons who had done well in business, but not at all. She would cry every day. When her friends asked her why she was crying, then she'd have a different reason every day. Sometimes when it was raining, they'd ask her, "Why are you crying today, old woman?" She'd explain that, "Oh, today I'm thinking about my poor son with the sunglasses factory, who will not be able to sell any of his products today." When the sun came out on another day, again she was crying. And they asked her, "Old lady, why are you crying again today?" As she explained to them, "Today I'm thinking about my poor son with the umbrella factory. Today he won't be able to sell any of his umbrellas at all. So every day, rain or shine, the poor old woman would have something to cry about." One day, her friend pointed out to her a very simple but very important thing to change her life. That on the day it rained, why not think of the son with the umbrella factory? On the day when the sun shined, why not think of the son with the sunglasses factory? And then she could laugh every day instead of crying. Well, it's just a funny story, but we can learn from this that sometimes our attitude can have a very strong effect on the way we see the world and our ability to gain happiness in the world. Also, when we come to meditate, we have to be ready to change our attitudes. And if we recognize in ourselves any old negative attitudes, then we must be ready to shed these if we're really to get on as a meditation student. So, the thing which means that our mind is able to pick up positive things is one special factor about the mind which may be useful for us to study a little further. And this is the fact that the mind can have only one thing in it at one time. If mind has positive things in it, then no negative attitudes can come in the mind. However, if the mind is preoccupied with negative thoughts, then no positive thoughts can come in it. Only one thing can be in the mind at any one time. And this is the quality of the mind which we exploit when we come to meditate. In fact, before we learn meditation, most of the time our mind is only on negative factors. But what we do when we meditate is to focus on something neutral. That neutral thing may be something like a crystal ball, or the sun, or the moon, or a star. Really, none of these things have any particular value. They're all neutral things. However, the thing which they do help us to do is they do help to distract our mind from the normally negative aspects which they are always dwelling on. Later, as our mind starts to focus more and more on neutral things, from time to time, it is able to flick over into more positive ways of thinking. From time to time, our mind will have little times of inspiration, and then as our mind becomes more and more able to think of positive things, then it will be impossible for our mind to slip back into the old negative ways of thinking. It's something which happens gradually, but this is something which we start to do in meditation by the simple fact that we train our mind to stay on something neutral instead of staying on something negative the whole of the time. So how can we promote an atmosphere by which we can learn more? Even in modern management these days, many companies have realized that the atmosphere of learning can make the difference between profit and loss in their company. It's just the same thing in meditation. If we don't have a positive attitude when we're learning, then we can fail to get any benefit from meditation at all. In management, they have spawned a whole new science which is called knowledge management, to try to get around many of the impediments which take place when people should be learning more or sharing ideas better. But this fails to happen. Some of the things which we can learn from knowledge management from the point of view of our meditation is the fact that we have to be open, we have to be positive about the learning experiences which we are having. And the ways in which we can do this are things like being willing to admit our failings, for example, learning from our own and others' mistakes, asking, for example, if we don't understand. Sometimes it can save us from reinventing the wheel each time. And helping the teacher to communicate more effectively by showing our encouragement and enthusiasm for what we're learning about. Also, because many of the ideas in meditation are new to us, then we need to give ourselves sufficient time to digest the new habits which we are doing. For example, if we're meditating, then we should try to meditate once a day to build up the new habits in our daily schedule. As we create such an atmosphere, then not only ourselves, but also our fellow meditators, if we're in a group, will be able to meditate much better as well. So these are just some ways, some hints, by which we can help the flow of information from teacher to student, from student to teacher, to help us all to learn meditation a little bit better. In the old culture of meditation, which mostly came from the Asian countries of the East, they used to have a special way to show their willingness to open up to new ideas. And the symbol of this was a special gesture of putting one's hands together in what we call a gesture of prayer. What we see in this gesture, where we put our hands together in a rounded shape, rather like a lotus bud, is that we are showing our willingness to learn something new. Because this lotus bud is a lotus bud which is very soon going to be ready to blossom. Another thing we notice about this gesture is that it also is like our heart. And as we are offering up our heart by making this gesture, it will show that we are willing to incorporate new qualities and new ideas into our hearts. And this is something which is symbolic, but is something which we can also use to remind ourselves of the fact that we do need to be open when we are learning meditation, so that those new and positive ideas can really come into our hearts. So for today, we've had a little bit of a look at some of the special approaches which we need to have for the study of meditation, how to cultivate these in order that we can make the maximum progress in our meditation in the short time which we have available. Next week, we're going to be looking a little bit more at how to integrate meditation into our daily life. But in the meantime, I'd like to encourage you all to maintain your well-being by meditating each day, at least once a day. Try to fix the habit of meditation in your daily routine. Everyone on this program is going to encourage you to meditate once a day, at least at home. And please try to find time to meditate each day. In the meantime, try to maintain good health, minimize your anxieties, and I'll see you again next week.
An important part of learning in Buddhist culture lies in the principal virtue of respect. To respect someone is to value the role of that person. Transferring of knowledge is established only when respect is performed by the students to the teacher, and vice versa. It develops a relationship between the two. In the next edition of Buddhist Culture, you will learn the highest form of gesture of respect that Buddhist students perform toward the Noble One, his teachings and disciples, called the Triple Gem.
Three for the Triple Gem. The action of bowing in respect to the Lord Buddha is very special, reverential, and beautiful. One should sit with both knees on the floor. It should be mentioned that the sitting posture for bowing is different for men and women, but for both the feeling is the same, one of peace and reverence. Lay both palms flat on the floor, but set them far enough apart to leave space for the forehead to slip between them. The first bow is in reverence to the Lord Buddha. The second bow is in reverence to the Supreme Truth, or the Dharma. And the third bow is in reverence to the Sangha, or ones who perpetuate the truth. Paying respect to Buddhist monks is the same as paying respect to the Lord Buddha or a Buddha image, because it is believed that the Buddhist monk is the one who perpetuates the Triple Gem. Thus, to pay respect to a monk is to pay respect to the Triple Gem. More than that, bowing helps to remind us of the focus of our meditation at the center of the body. We should maintain our mind in meditation as we bow, giving one's whole body and mind in respect to one's highest refuge. Thus bowing is to pay respect to Lord Buddha with the whole of one's body, mind and spirit. Bowing is paying respect from the inside out.
If you're mentally unhappy or frustrated, then physical comfort is not much help. On the other hand, if you can maintain a calm and peaceful state of mind, you can be a very happy person, even if you have poor health. Or even if you have wonderful possessions, when you're in an intense moment of anger or hatred, you feel like throwing them and breaking them. At that moment, your possessions mean nothing. Today, there are societies that are very developed materially, yet among them, there are people who are not very happy. To make yourself happy, meditation is the key. If you meditate every morning, you will notice that the day is different from the others when you do not meditate. Now let us join Venerable Somsak Piyasilo in a meditation exercise that's coming up next.
Welcome to the third class of meditation session. Hope you have been practicing meditation at your own home. Now, last time we talked about the axis of life, which is the combination that share the center of the physical body, the balanced one, and also the balance of the mind. Both physical and mind, they have got the same axis. Now that axis generates a lot of power because the body and the mind have united into one. Today we would go a little further. Lord Buddha says, man should lean only on himself. This is quite practical because to lean on oneself, we need to start from inside, and the center or the axis of each human being will belong to their own. So that's why the teaching that says man should lean only on himself is quite correct. So everyone can start from the center. The center belongs to himself, and now we will start to do meditation further today. For a newcomer, you might see my sitting position a little difficult to start with, so choose your own sitting corner. Choose your own most comfortable sitting position. You might sit on your own favorite chair. You can sit on the couch cushion, or you can sit with the support of the pillow on the floor, similar to the sitting posture of the Buddha image. Now we will close our eyes softly. Do not force the eyes to be closed. Instead, we let the eyelids fall down softly just to close the eyes. Relax all the muscles. Relax all the nerves. Let all the physical parts to remain stress-free. Relax the entire muscles around the head. Muscles around the eyes. The junction between two eyebrows. Let go all the tension. Imagine there is a stream or an influx of relaxation covering the entire body. No single part of the physical body can escape from that stream of relaxation. So the whole you is totally relaxed. Every intake of the air is full of freshness. And every outtake of the air will carry all the remaining troubles away from your life. Let the whole mechanism of physical body stay at ease. Just relax and relax. Relaxation is the key element in the success of being in the center. I want to remind the last advice. The turning point of the breathing is the center of the body, also the axis of life, both physical and mind. So we just enter the center of the body. The mind or the consciousness is now staying still in the center. The marking at the axis with the picture of the sparkling star is now available to see in the image of the mind. The vision of the shining star is now appearing at the axis, at the center of the body. This is the hub of the wheel of life. Physical parts might be moving like the outer part of the wheel, moving with activities and all other stuff. But at the hub, it is so perfectly a standstill. The mind is at standstill point in the hub at the center. Remain with full relaxation in the center at the hub of the wheel of life. We might welcome more shining stars. When the awareness touches the image of the star, it might be like turning on a switch of the lamp that might increase the brightness of the shining star. The star starts to glow. The star is glowing with more and more brightness. Don't force the picture or try to frame the picture. Let the glow of the star to expand without limit. Let the glow of the star enlarges at its will. Sometimes the star keep coming and sometimes it is gone. That doesn't matter at all. The most important thing is the feeling of the existence in the center. The existence of the center is everything in meditation. The picture could be a rewards, could be a byproduct, but the genuine quality of meditation is the existence of the center. So the awareness of the mind dwells very well in the center. No matter the picture may vary, but the existence of the center is always forever. So we keep the feeling, maintain the feeling of being existing in the center. We remain existent in the center all the time. In the hub, the star could glow gloriously, brighter and brighter. Let it be, as long as our mind stays in the center. Let peace and happiness happen by their own way inside the hub of the wheel of life. Now let's share this bright light inside the center with all other people. Expand the light in the manner of the sunlight. As the sun is rising